This is the Motorola Q9M available through Verizon Wireless. You can see that it has a vastly revised front face when compared to the original Motorola Q. The keyboard has been completely redesigned, and instead of having small, nubby little keys protruding from the surface, you have this texturized keypad with the keys that flow together. This keypad is a great improvement over the original Q and is much easier to use. The navigation cluster has also been improved. The end and send keys have been made larger, and the buttons here have been spaced out a little bit better, and the D-pad has been made easier to use. There's no longer a ridge sticking up. It's a nice flat surface, and it's easy to move your thumb around. The one complaint we do have about the Q9M's front is that they didn't improve the location of the back key. This back key is the only clear delete back key on the phone, and unfortunately when typing, it's not uncommon for your thumb to want to use either of these keys over here as a delete button. Unfortunately, you'd be sticking in a return or using the shift key instead of deleting. Still, overall, the front fascia of the Q9M is vastly improved. On the left side of the Q9M, you'll find the mini SD storage port as well as the mini USB charge and syncing port. On the right side of the phone is an improved track wheel and back key. On the top of the phone is the port for 2.5mm headphone jack, and on the back of the Q9M is where you'll see the camera and flash. Stereo speakers are located here. As you can see here, though the Q9M uses Windows Mobile 6 Standard, it comes with a Verizon Media menu that sits on top of Windows Mobile 6. So using the D-pad or the track dial, you can move the cursor around. This lets you access your music, the camera, your video content, as well as the VCast Music Store and adjust volume, all from this main page. Scrolling over to this icon here on the left and punching the center of the D-pad will bring up the same menu. So from here, we can go back into our music and choose the same song. Some good old Anthrax there. And here you have a very simplified version of the player with the skip forward, pause, and play controls here in the left-hand portion of this media screen. If we were watching a video, see what we got here. It will load and play in this little screen, and we can expand it to the full screen by choosing this icon here in the bottom left-hand corner. We'll briefly take a look at the camera, which will take a few seconds to load. And you can see here we can choose the full screen viewfinder, or to have an eclipsed view here where you can access some options such as the menu here. And we can choose to dive into our gallery here, which you'll see takes a few minutes to load and only shows 8 pictures at a time. While you're here though, jumping into the menu, you have a wide variety of options to choose for each picture, which you can see here. If we close that and actually just jump into the picture itself, the menu button basically brings up that same set of properties, and you can choose to send them or save them or move them around. Using this key down here on the bottom right corner, you can see though that we can change it to a standard Windows Mobile view, which will come up in just a second. So here's the standard Windows Mobile 6 page. The menu system of Windows Mobile 6 is unchanged for the Q9M. Hitting the Start key brings us into the standard menu. There are a few extra items that are Verizon specific, of course, such as a shortcut to the VCast Music Store. But this menu system lets you do pretty much anything you need to do within the phone to make adjustments, to customize it, to access applications, store files, and more. Taking a quick look at the messaging department, you can see here that it groups text messages, your Outlook email or corporate email, MMS messages, and POP3 accounts all together here in one menu. And it lets you see how many messages you have in each inbox. From here, you can dive in and see what awaits you. So you can see I've got some spam there in one of my Yahoo accounts. Because the Q9M has an EVDO radio, browsing the web is fairly snappy. You can see here the Verizon Wireless portal is a fairly stripped down version when compared to the WAP portal. Jumping into our favorites, you can see we'll load the CNN page because that's a true mark of how quickly a web browser brings up some news. You can see here number of headlines, complete with pictures, and it loaded the page fairly quickly. The Q9M makes definite strides and improvements when compared to the original Q. It has a better form factor, easier on the hand, better keyboard, and Windows Mobile 6 is definitely an improvement over Windows Mobile 5. Still, there were a couple things that bugged us with our review units. Both review units that we looked at did have some slight signal troubles, and battery life wasn't all that spectacular. But still, the Q9M is a powerful Windows Mobile 6 smartphone.